Happy St. Patty's Day to everybody, and happy Selection Sunday show. We have a live one here with Giacomo Priali, Wukowski, and me, Jack Kemmler. They're already firing off the first region, the East region. UConn has already been shown, but I think we want to talk about first is the conference winners. This is the year of the bid stealers. The bid stealers right now are going insane. It's going to be the first time ever we're going to have play-in for 11 seeds, maybe even 10 seeds. This is going to be a crazy March Madness selection show. We got UConn versus Stetson to start it off, but we'll do the full bracket later. Jock and Will, what are your opinions on the conference tournaments where some great wins from teams like NC State or other teams?
I was just about to say, Jack, NC State's the prime example. You know, the 10 seed in the ACC showing up in a big way. I mean, beating number 1 North Carolina, number 3 Virginia, and honestly could knock Virginia out of the bracket as a whole going into this. You know, they're right on that bubble. So, I mean, there's a ton of bid stealers. Look at Duquesne was a 5 seed. UAB was a 5 seed. A lot of just teams that weren't supposed to. You look at New Mexico, who had a big win yesterday. I mean, just a ton of teams who came out of nowhere and just stole a bunch of bids. And that's why you look at this bubble right now. It's just pure chaos on the bubble. So many teams that in any other year should be in the tournament. A lot of quad one wins, but just because of a lot of these teams having these massive upsets in these smaller conferences, causing mayhem in the bubble.
And Jack, I don't know if you mind if I jump in here, but just one thing to say: if your team is one of those teams, you know, like Jack, like you, Duke fan, or other teams like Arizona, who just, you know, the number 1 seed, or even number 2, just one of the higher ranked seeds in their conference and blew it in the conference championship, it's not over for you. I mean, one of the weirdest stats I've seen throughout is that, you know, I think it's like 11 of the last 13 bracket winners have been teams that lost their conference tournament. It's not a if you win it, you're in. It really actually is almost the opposite, which is a little weird, but that's just kind of another one of those fun facts you could throw in just to show that really doesn't mean everything. Like teams like Houston, Duke, and Arizona, those are 3 teams that are going to be, you know, taking it very far in this March Madness. And just because they weren't able to, you know, win in their certain conferences doesn't mean it's over.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the Power 5 ones. I mean, UConn, easy win in the Big East tournament, easy way to the championship, and then beat Marquette pretty easily. But Oregon with a huge last ever Pac-12 championship win, where it's not supposed to be in the tournament, but they got themselves in with that win. Auburn, teams like Tennessee, Kentucky, other teams that fell short in the top seeds of the SEC. The number 3 Auburn team won in the SEC. What was the most surprising Power 5 win outside of NC State, do you think, Jock?
I mean, it's so tough because NC State was the clear number 1. I honestly think, listen, Iowa State, you know, they've been at the top, but just beating the number 1 team in the country in that Big 12 championship, I think goes a long way. Iowa State, just on the bracketology right before the selection show started, projected right around that 1 seed line. I mean, they were number 12 to 15 in the country, which is floating around a 3 seed. But that huge game against Houston just catapults them into maybe a 1 seed, which could be massive for that program.
And Jock, I mean, Iowa State, the end of the season, number 1 defensively in the entire country. They just beat out the other squad that they did beat in the conference tournament. They beat out Houston for that spot. And I mean, they are a defensive squad for sure. They just get it done on that side of the ball. The only thing that worries me is, you know, 55th ranked in offensive adjusted efficiency. You know, that really is just going to rank how well you run your offense. It's points per 100 possessions, and it's just not a good sign to see if they're really not anywhere high up, especially, you know, going off another one of those March Madness weird stats. You're going to hear a lot of them today. If you're not in the top 40 in offensive efficiency, there's never been a team to win it that hasn't been bringing that offensive prowess. Also, having a key point guard, a key contributor shooting it is a big deal come March when things just happen so fast. So Iowa State, you know, I love them. I loved watching them throughout. And a huge win against Houston. I really just think that win shows that those 2 teams aren't March ready. I mean, it's a tough thing to say for the number 2 and 5 ranked teams in KenPom, but they're just teams that don't attack the perimeter at all. I mean, they don't shoot the ball very well. They both have some of the lower efficiencies in the entire Division I for shooting the ball. I mean, obviously not overall. They still are very good offensive teams that just work hard and get it done. But the offense scares me away. So, I mean, that loss from Houston against Iowa State in the conference championship, once again, isn't end-all, be-all, but their shooting really scares me. I think it's a sign.
All right, let's get into the East region fully. reveal now. Hopefully, we can get it up on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm gonna have to zoom this in a lot. All right. Yeah, you can see that. We'll start off with the UConn Stetson game. I mean, I think everybody can agree here. Just give a yes. You think UConn is the best team in the country by a good amount.
Yes, I think that there are some 16 seeds that will come out that can upset some 1 seeds, but I don't see any kind of upset here. UConn should absolutely dominate this Stetson team, a team that doesn't play a lot of great defense. You know, they're a very fast-paced team, which, you know, could keep them in the game on the offensive side of the ball, but UConn's the best team in the country.
And Jock, as you mentioned, Stetson, you know, runs that tempo well. UConn's a team that runs tempo at one of the slowest paces in the entire country, but that doesn't really mean much to them. They just play the game at all 5 positions, even come off the bench just super efficiently. All the guys that they have just get the job done right. And I mean, in a lot of the looking I've done for March Madness, he's just been a team that stands out so well. I mean, all 5 guys get it done.
I think we could start off with the first thing that comes to mind. I mean, we saw Iowa State, South Dakota State is the end over there if you can't see it. But FAU got an 8 seed. They were projected to be the first 4 in. I had them as a 10 seed. How crazy is that FAU got as an 8 seed to the committee?
I think it's absolutely awful for the FAU Alice program. You know, a lot of people, you know, on the show, Jack, I know you're a big FAU guy. Our fellow hostmate Matt Freeman both think FAU. But this is a hell of a matchup that they have first round going with Northwestern and Boo Bui and a super experienced Northwestern team. I mean, I think it's honestly terrible for FAU that they're going to have a very, very tough matchup in the first round. And for such an experienced team, they're going to have a lot of struggles, I think, in this game.
Well, Jack, let me just say, for a team in Florida, they know how to celebrate. They know how to party. And that's one thing they'll be doing early, not late. They will be smoked out of this game by the first half. I mean, Boo Bui and Northwestern coming from a Big Ten conference that was a little bit weak, but was just a very solid conference throughout, win games, lose games. They played very strong. They took down a very, very strong Purdue team, one that's only lost 4 games. So, I mean, it's just a team, Northwestern, that is a March-built team. Boo Bui, that point guard who can command the game, can control the game, and have a huge spark impact. I mean, FAU, it's to me, I look at them and I just see a bad Purdue. I mean, Vladimir Golovin, however you say it, he's a 7-1 center, averaging 15 points a game. They got guys who could shoot, you know, Janai Davis, or Janelle Davis, their point guard, can get it done shooting it and, you know, spreading it out. But I just don't love the team whatsoever. 109th ranked in defensive efficiency is almost worse than just, I don't know how to put it. It's really bad. It's almost out of like the top 6 conference level of play. They get it done offensively, though. Top 8 in the country in offense. Besides that, we're going to see a fast-paced game here. Northwestern, I believe, is going to take it. I think FAU, as you said, Jock, is a bad position because people are still holding on to that Cinderella run they had back, you know, last year. And this 8 seed just completely removes that Cinderella story. Now they're a team. Now they're a team that's requested to get it done. They're not the underdogs in this game as it comes out on paper. So it's going to be a tough one from the pull off. But if they could, this bracket doesn't look too dangerous. So they might have a way to put together another Cinderella run.
I mean, too dangerous. I mean, we'll get into a little bit more, but I think you're missing the ball on dangerous. There's a lot of good teams in this East region, Will.
One thing I do want to point out, and a question I have for you guys, is where do you think Iowa State ends up falling in this bracket? Because, you know, as I've gotten to look a little bit more at it, this looks like one of the worst case scenarios for a team like Iowa State.
I mean, Iowa State is that 2 seed, you know, you can see it right there. But I mean, are we going to break that game down right now? Do you want to just
I'm not talking about the Jackrabbit 15 seed. I'm talking about, you know, teams like, you know, Northwestern, BYU, I mean, Illinois. These are 3 teams that just score. And they do it at a high rate, and they do it very well. And Iowa State's a slow team. They want to play their basketball. It's going to be tough, you know, going after they beat, I'm not sure exactly, I believe who that is, number 15 seed. I think the Jackrabbits. But after that game, it's going to just be – it obviously gets harder instantly. But for an Iowa State team, I'm really looking at how they run their pace and how they run their offense. I don't think they'll be able to get past a team like Northwestern.
All right. I mean, I'll say the next question is, an Iowa State team who just had a great Big 12 championship win. Do you think it's Iowa State? You think it's Illinois or Auburn? Which team of those 3 has the best chance to take UConn out?
I think it's one of the best players in all of college basketball. me and Willie K have been on him ever since he came back from suspension, has to be the Illinois Fighting Illini. I mean, Terrence Shannon Jr. just shows up in the big moments. We just saw it in the Big Ten championship. I mean, Wisconsin and Chucky Hepburn have had a monster run in the Big Ten, and then Terrence Shannon Jr. just shows out in the last 5 minutes of the game, hits big shot after big shot after big shot. Illinois also a very grounded, defensive-rooted team. Great coaching on that team. I think if anyone's gonna, cause some noise, it has to be Illinois on that side.
And Jack, I'm actually gonna follow up on Jock's take here. It's one of the bigger things you look at in these big upset games is tempo and just how a team runs. If you can get a team on their heels and just playing the basketball that they haven't played for the past 32 games, especially a team like UConn who just goes out and dominates. I mean, a weird stat I was given a look at, but they've been for the past 3 years first place in the entire country in first half point differential. They just get it done right away and they carry it on. But I mean, this Illinois team has 5 guys who can play basketball just like UConn. They might not all be as talented or on the same level, but they can run it faster than them. And I think if you can get Terrence Shannon Jr. hot, I mean, 40 points in a huge game he had last night, it was an absolute performance. So I think if you can get him hot, you can get Damask hot, you can get some of the other guys like Coleman Hawkins hot. If Coleman Hawkins can work in the paint and be strong like that, then it really, really should be a solid game for Illinois. And I think they're the team that really does bring the most challenge to the UConn squad.
Yeah, this is crazy. This is a tough draw for UConn, who had an amazing season. They have 3 other conference champions in the top 4 right there. Me personally, I'm going to take Auburn. I really do like this Auburn team. A great coach they have. They just beat down on Florida in the SEC championship. Johnny Broome is one of the better players in the country. I think if they can ride his back with some great supporting players along, I think Auburn could somehow – they're going to have an early matchup against UConn. If they get to there, it'll be the semifinal, I believe, the Sweet 16 against UConn. If it all plays out, I would take Auburn to beat UConn.
And you just hinted at my point, Jack. I was going to throw it to that right side on our little graphic here. I want to talk about those 3 games. I mean, San Diego State was a monster in the West all year this year, and they are a very experienced team too. They had a very deep run last year. Team that plays very good defense. If Auburn beats Yale and San Diego State, I would guess I don't want to see UAB beating this San Diego State team. I mean, that is a very, very tough matchup for the Auburn Tigers in the round of 32. I mean, San Diego State has all the credentials. They have the experience. So I think that is really an eye-opener if you're Auburn. I mean, the first-round matchup, I don't think it'll be much of a sweat. I don't think Yale is a very good basketball team in general. But San Diego State is a monster powerhouse, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
So, I mean, John talked a lot about the Temple Owls recently. So I had to give him a look, by the way. And that FAU team – that not FAU, sorry, the I'm gonna mess up the initials, but the team is playing SDSU, San Diego State. I think they're really good coming out of that conference that Temple runs in. I mean, it's just they just have played a very, very offensive basketball, so they're a team that could come in and knock down a weird team like San Diego State. But I mean, outside of that, Duquesne has played some good basketball. The only other team I see coming in as a sleeper really is a team like Washington State. But I mean, there are a couple sleeper worthy teams. You always think you know what you're saying until Stetson's in the Elite Eight somehow. But I really do like the 12 seed or Washington State to come out of this bracket and be an interesting one.
Yeah, real quick, Jack, before you go, I think a lot of people coming into the bracketology like the Drake Bulldogs, as a little bit of a Cinderella run, a little bit upset pick. I think that this is a terrible matchup for them. This Washington State team was legit all year, ran through their conference tournament, conference champions. I mean, just, again, you want to talk about an experienced team. They also were in the tournament again last year. I'm a big fan of this Washington State team. They have the guard play. They have the forwards. They don't rely on a specific part of their game. Just a very, very well-rounded team. And I'm a big fan of Washington State to beat Drake in that first round.
All right, the South region is fully unveiled, but we'll get just there in a couple seconds. Last question for this East region. Where is the most likely first-round upset?
I think for me it has to be Duquesne over BYU. It's the obvious one. Duquesne had a monster game against VCU today in their conference tournament. And Duquesne, they just look like a very good put-together basketball team. I'm not a fan of BYU. They run at a very, very slow pace. They take their time on offense, and Duquesne runs at a quick pace. So we normally see those are the upset games. Teams that play with a lot of pace, can score the ball efficiently, and play both sides of the ball are normally the teams that can cause these upsets. And Duquesne has a lot of those credentials, especially against a very slow-moving BYU team.
Jack, this is a tough one. I mean, as I said, you think you know what's going on, but I still don't know. I'm gonna take the Dragons. I'm gonna take the Dragons over SDSU. I really liked what I saw from them statistically earlier. Completely blanking on what the college name is.
UAB.
UAB. There we go.
Yeah. Can't have the South bracket fully, but we can just talk about it. Houston got the 1 seed. I believe Duke got the 4 seed.
They did.
That will be one of the big matchups if it gets to there. Kentucky with a 3 seed, Marquette with a 2 seed. If you guys want to talk about Marquette, it's really a tough team. They're going to be versing Western Kentucky in the first round. How much is the impact if Tyler Kolek doesn't play?
If he doesn't play, they could be upset in the first round. Like, I'm sorry. Like, we saw Marquette struggle against UConn. Like, honestly, like they struggled. They were able to keep themselves in the game, but not having one of the better players in college basketball and a game changer like Tyler Kolek is just such a loss for a very, very good team. I mean, again, Marquette as a whole is a good basketball team, but just not having your star point guard and the best player in your team causes a lot of red flags and a lot of problems, especially early on in the bracket.
I'm just shocked that Houston's up at 1. I mean, that's what's really confusing me. I get they played well. I don't like them. I love them the entire season, and I just don't. They don't shoot it well. I think there are maybe, I don't know, more warranting teams. But getting back to that Marquette argument, I said it earlier. I don't even think there's a difference if he comes back. It's been too long. You watch a Marquette basketball game, and that team's run through Tyler Kolek. I mean, he's not just a point guard. He's like the best point guard. Like, he isn't a point guard who gets up there and just knocks down threes. He could. He attacks the lane and just makes everything so difficult for the defense. I've never seen a player who stresses a defense more than him. Like Zach Edey's another guy, but I mean, this guy's a 6'3" point guard who's stressing the defense at that level. Without him, it's a different Marquette team. Even with Oso Ighodaro back, it's a different team. Cam Jones doesn't become one of the better shooters in the league because he doesn't have Tyler Kolek get him open every time. Same thing with Oso Ighodaro. He can't move the pick and roll action, and he can't do his little post jumper shot that he's actually super good at. So this Marquette team just scares me overall. I don't think they have the chance to even make a run anywhere. I think that's all out of the paper. I don't think they are champions in any facet. I could be wrong, but I really think losing Tyler Kolek for 3 weeks, how long has it been? It's a whole shift, and you get time to practice, but not a March Madness. I mean, it's a game after game after game. And it's kind of just like what works. Like, that's why you see teams like FAU out there. It works. They're not going to change it. You don't have time to make adjustments. So, having a guy like Kolek out and trying to fix and, trying to adjust as thing goes on is when he comes back, is he going to be healthy? Is he going to be ready? There's too many questions. There's too much going on for this Marquette team. I love Shaka Smart. I just don't think he's a seasoned enough coach to take this team all the way. I think they're great, but I mean, I think they're going to be an early exit also. People are really holding on to them a little bit more than I expected, especially the media. They still think they're a really good team. I mean, what seed did they end up getting?
2 seed. They're the 2.
There you go. There's your evidence. Duke is 13 times better than Marquette, and they'll beat them by 20.
All right, moving on to the South region that was unveiled. I would say to start off with Boise State. Got a play-in, which is insane. I had Boise State as an 8 seed. They were projected to be an 8 seed as well. I don't know how they got into the play-in. And same as Colorado. They also shouldn't have been.
Yeah, same for Colorado. You don't want to overlook Colorado. They're a tough Pac-12 team.
And even worse for either of those 2 teams, you run into Florida, who just went to the SEC championship game, they really showed up second half of the year. They struggled immensely first half. And then Alex Condon started playing like a legit big man in the NCAA. I mean, this Florida team looks very, very hot and very, very good at the right time. Obviously, a rough loss the other day. But I mean, I think that they should be able to handle business against. I think Boise State and Colorado are both good teams, like you guys mentioned. But having Florida as that 7th seed in that first round is going to be a rough matchup for both of those teams. Whoever wins that playing game.
Yeah, to get into the first 4 and thing, it was a huge debate all over social media because of the bid stealers and how close it's going to be. This was kind of the consensus of the pre-selection show. It was going to be 4 of these 8 teams. And you can see FAU was in there, Michigan State, Indiana State, St. John's, Pitt, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Virginia.
A&M's already in there too. We just saw it. So I
mean,
A&M
just popped up at 9.
So I think the committee is definitely getting this wrong right now, especially with Boise State. They should have been an 8 seed, probably. Colorado should have been not near a play-in game. They had a great season. Right now, the committee's not doing well, but we'll get away from them. What's the most exciting matchup you guys have in this region right now?
I think there's 2 matchups that are popcorn worthy. I think that they're the best matchups we've seen so far. That 8-9 matchup, Nebraska, Texas A&M, is going to be one heck of a game, man. Keisei Tominaga has been lighting up college basketball on fire all season, and you're going against a very solid Texas A&M team who made a run in their conference. They're a legit team. I think that game could those 8-9 games are always tricky, but that one especially could go either way. And then that 5-12 matchup, JMU Wisconsin, is going to be a spectacular game. We just saw Truckee Hepburn put on a spectacular display in the Big Ten championship, despite the rough loss to Illinois. But JMU, 30 wins season in their conference tournaments. They look like a very dangerous team and maybe a little bit of a Cinderella team. So I think that those 2 especially are going to be some very, very good matchups.
The Texas Tech game versus NC State's gonna be awesome. Texas Tech's a weird team. Pop Isaacs, he's kind of been on and off all year, but he's hot. And they have a couple other guys. Not sure his first name. I believe his last name is like Muhammad III. He's a monster. They just got guys who could shoot on that team. They played a really good offensive close to the season. I think this is a team that finally hands it to NC State. They've been really hot, and they come in winning the ACC tournament, taking down UNC and Duke. So those are 2 massive wins for them. But I think their run ends here just because this is a team where Texas Tech might be able to get around them and shoot the 3 ball a little bit more. And one more highlight, I think Texas Tech will be a team that does press some of these guys out of the brackets. It's going to be they're going to be a team that could knock down teams like University of Kentucky, maybe even Duke and Marquette. So they'll be a tough one to watch. I think they'll be like one of my sleepers for this region.
And I think one of the big questions in this region is this the weakest bracket and weakest region? And I think it might be by far, in my opinion. Will touched on how Houston just got killed in the Big 12 championship. It doesn't really like him that much. Marquette might be without Kolek, and even if they're with him, still not a great team. Kentucky is a very offensive team and basically has no defense. Duke has had a horrible March, losing to UNC and losing to NC State. You look at this bracket, it's kind of wide open.
I 100% agree. I feel like this is the bracket where, especially if Houston struggles against any team, that you could see an 8 seed like Nebraska come out. You could see a 5 seed like Wisconsin come out. I feel like there are a lot of different ways where I can see different teams, Sweet 16, Elite 8, a lot of these lower seeds. This bracket as a whole could definitely throw a lot of brackets down in the trash. This is just going to be hectic, this South region.
And Jack, this has been a roller coaster ride. That's all I can say. I hate it. I loved Duke maybe about 4 days ago. And for no reason, the UNC loss really didn't throw anything. It's just a little bit more looking makes me a little bit nervous about Duke's ability to spread it, but I think they're the best team in this bracket. I don't think they're the best team. I think they have the best chance to win March Madness in this bracket. Clearly University of Houston is the best team. Clearly, they are the best team in this bracket. They're the 1 seed for a reason. What they did in the Big 12 this year was incredible, and their move was a very important move to solidify them as an elite and the top basketball program in the entire country. I don't think they can get it done in March. I think they're going to get stuck against one of those teams like Texas Tech, maybe even Florida, one of those teams that could just play offense at a really high rate and just knock them out. Marquette, we already touched up on what we don't really like. Kentucky's defense is a problem. it's a problem for a 3 seed. They're a team that could walk out of there in the first round. They're a team that, without a doubt, could walk out of there at the first round. They're very underexperienced, and we all know that. They have like 4 freshmen who get it done. Antonio Reeves is a dog, but I don't know.
All right. I mean, you guys have any last comments on the South region before we move on to the Midwest that's fully unveiled? I mean,
No, I
like
think
any early upsets, in my opinion, I'm looking at the Kentucky-Oakland game as one of the 3-14 upsets.
I just think you're wrong, Jack. I mean, Kentucky just scores the ball too much. I mean, they have had some rough losses, but Oakland, I wasn't very impressed. I did actually watch their conference tournament game. I'm not impressed. They don't shoot very efficiently from the field. They do play some good defense. I'll give them that. But I think Kentucky, their players, there's something about Kentucky every year. They get it done, at least in the first round. I would give it at least a game or two before you're going to knock them out. But, I mean, upset-wise, I think the one that has to stick out is that 5-12 matchup, like we mentioned, that Wisconsin-JMU. That game could cause a lot of noise. And then that Texas Tech-NC State game, NC State coming off one of, I would say probably the best conference championship or the toughest run for any team. Those two games definitely, I feel like, could cause some early upsets.
All right, let's move on to the Midwest region. Here it is. Purdue finally got in, and the committee had a chance to do something really funny to put in St. Peter's as a 16 seed, but they didn't. They put them at a 15. Tennessee will be versing them, who had a great season behind Dalton Connect. Creighton and Kansas round out the top 4 of that. Gonzaga at a 5 seed. South Carolina, Texas at a 7 seed. I'm gonna start off with the most exciting matchup. I think it's that South Carolina Oregon game for me.
Oh no, you're just wrong.
Oh well, I'll touch on it first. I've been a huge fan of the Gamecocks all year.
Utah State.
They were very underrated to start the season. Didn't get ranked, and then once they started winning more and more games, they started to get ranked, and they started going higher and higher. And I really do like this South Carolina team. They shoot the 3 well. They have a great continuity just around the team. And Oregon just won the Pac-12 champions, so I think that's going to be a great matchup. What about you, Jock?
I mean, I think you dropped the ball, and that's the best game. I think it's the game right above it. Everyone picking McNeese State coming into the Cinderella team, and there is a reason for it, man. I am in love with this matchup for the McNeese State Cowboys. They do everything right. They play at a very, very fast pace. They play good defense. They're very efficient from the field. I honestly think McNeese State is going to run Gonzaga off the floor in this game. Gonzaga I haven't been impressed with them all season. I don't think that they're a great team. And I honestly think that this is a spectacular first-round matchup for the McNeese State Cowboys. I'm all over this one for an early 12-5 upset.
I don't know what to say about McNeese State. I've never even heard of this college. They'll do well. I'm not, I don't really look at teams that their best win is against UAB, but I'll learn about them if they make it far. I think this Gonzaga team actually is a little bit better than a 5 seed. They turned it on late. Like their last few wins against San Francisco and they had a stretch against San Francisco and then St. Mary's where they just had 2 huge quad 1 wins where they won by like 20. I mean, I think they're a good team, but that's nothing we should be worrying about right now. I just want to talk about. I mean, this is one of the strongest brackets, I would say. I mean, I really like what I'm seeing from here. Purdue's a team that I really like. I love Edie this year. I finally am liking what he's doing with the ball. It's a little bit more of a spread it out offense and let the other guys shoot. So it's a team that I actually enjoy to see as a first round team. I don't think they're going to be out. But Jack, I kind of want to kick over a question to you. Tennessee, Creighton, and Kansas, the 2, 3, 4 seeds. Jock, you can answer this as well, of course. Who's the first one out?
Oh, I was just about to get there. So I think, honestly, one of these teams can go out in the first round. I mean, again, I'm not expecting a lot of scouting report, but I think it's Creighton, man. I mean, Kalkbrenner scares me. Yeah. He hasn't survived in the big moments, and this Akron team is a very, very solid defensive team. I'm not sure what the name of their center is, but they do have a big man who I think they can at least play some sufficient defense on Kalkbrenner in the first round. And this Akron team went very far in the conference tournament, ended up winning it. That's why they have that bid. But Creighton's guard play also scares me. They're not that experienced. I mean, they struggled in March last year. And I think that, I'm a big Tennessee fan. I think Dalton Connect is a dog. And Kansas, I think, can at least win the first round. But I think for Creighton fans, I'd be very scared in the first and second round if I'm a Creighton Blue Jays fan.
I do agree. I like the Creighton team, but I do see him as an early exit. I want to talk about this Kansas team. A bit underrated in my eyes. Kevin McCullers and Hunter Dixon didn't play in the Big 12 tournament. They're going to be fully healthy for the first round of March Madness. That's a team who has an easy matchup against Samford in the first round. I could see making a run. Everybody talks about Purdue, and they're always going to get upset. And they're, a team that can never get to the Final Four. It could also be their year. They've had a great surrounding cast around Zach Edey, who's having his best year of college basketball. Will, do you think it's the year of Purdue, or do you think another team inside of this bracket comes out and makes the Final Four?
I do think this is a year of Purdue. I'm calling it. Throughout my extensive few minutes of research, I really like Purdue. I like everything about them. They have a point guard that I believe can get done, Braden Smith. He's a very good shooter. They have other guys who could just shoot as well. I mean, Zach Edey isn't the main guy. It's not who they rely on anymore. Yes, the Big Ten's a little bit weaker, but they're a very well-coached team as well. It's a team that I believe passes almost all the checks, I would say, offensively, defensively, shooting the ball, rebounding the ball. I mean, even the little things they do right. So Purdue's a team that I believe passes all the checks this year and will make it to at least the Elite Eight.
I want to comment on that, and then I want to throw it to one other thing, and then I'll be done for this bracket. Well, I think you're honestly wrong. I think Tennessee is the best team in this side. Zach Edey is just not a good basketball player. He's just tall. I mean, it just annoys me watching him play basketball. It really does. They almost lost to Michigan State, which is a game that they should have lost. And I just think Dalton Connect is one of the best players in college basketball. I think Tennessee will light up that Purdue team if they play, especially if they're playing in that Elite Eight. But the one game I want to shift the attention to that really draws me in is that 7-10 matchup. I mean, Texas, you have Max Abmas, who's a super experienced guard. He had that Oral Roberts run a couple years ago. But then Virginia, who a team I believe shouldn't even be in the tournament, barely squeaks in as that 10 seed for the play-in. Colorado State's a very good team too. I just think that is a very, very interesting matchup. I don't feel very strongly about one way, but Texas has had its fair share of losses, so maybe a little bit of noise for whoever wins that play-in game. But I think that's a very interesting game there.
Yeah, I want to talk about that Texas matchup. I'm a huge fan of this Texas team. Like you said, Max Abmas is a very experienced guard. They also have Tyrese Hunter and Dylan Dessou, who played last year in March Madness and had great tournament runs. I think it's a team that could make a sneaky run. The Longhorns, they're gonna have an easy first-round matchup, in my opinion. Colorado State's not that great, and I'm the biggest Virginia hater there's probably ever been. They play the game way too slow. I don't see them beating Colorado State, but if they do, Texas will beat them down. And then I'm looking to, if it gets to Texas, Tennessee, that might be the game of March. The fireworks that would come out of that game between Texas and Tennessee, I think, would be great.
Yeah, Jack, I as you said, I'm a pretty big Texas follower here, believer. Dylan Dessou, I mean, he's a really special talent on the court. He's been on and off with injuries the entire year. He's finally healthy. He's finally come into his own. As you said, Max Abmas is just the guy in March. He's been the guy for the past 3 years. Now he's playing for a team that actually has a name, so we'll see what he can get done with some other guys on the court with him. But, Jock, just want to touch up on Tennessee. Just one last thing. I'm a little worried about them just because, in March Madness, sometimes teams just come out and don't shoot the ball. And Tennessee has lost a couple or more than a handful of games this year where they just come out and don't shoot the ball whatsoever. Outside of Zakai Ziegler and Dalton Connect, they don't have really a lot of guys. They don't really shoot the three ball as well. So, I mean, touching on that, I have a lot of concern in their game. I know they play extremely well defensively, and then Dalton Connect is just the man and can do anything. But, I mean, do you not kind of see a little bit of a relation to Purdue when you look at this Tennessee team and a little bit of almost a one-man chorus where it's just because Dalton Connect isn't 7'3" and sit in the offensive paint doesn't mean he's not doing everything for Tennessee.
I mean, listen, I get what you're saying, and I can 100% agree with that. Every team can struggle. You never know who's going to struggle. But I think the fact is Tennessee's guard play is just so strong. They have one of the best backcourts in the country that it just doesn't scare me. If they struggle, I feel like they're just going to be able to figure it out. You mentioned Tennessee, great. They get great defensive rankings in KenPom. I mean, I really think that this Tennessee team is built for March. That's my personal opinion. I think that Dalton Connect, you mentioned, is the man. I feel very, very good looking outwards at Tennessee in this bracket.
One last thing I kind of want to bring up. I know this is a little weird, but this is just a final touch. Tennessee and Auburn are two teams that they played different conferences, but actually tend to look quite similar. Janai Brumi is at the head of the Auburn team. He gets a lot done. He does a lot for that team. Both offensive squads that are very high end, third and fourth ranked. Tennessee's ranked third, and Auburn's ranked fourth. The only thing that sticks out is Auburn's the 10th best offense. Tennessee's the 30th. Tennessee's a 2 seed and Auburn's a 4 seed. So there's just a few things in this bracket, as Jack mentioned, that just really aren't making sense. I get Tennessee had more quad 1 wins playing in the Big 12, or not even. No, they were an SEC team. So it's a little confusing. I get it. They have Dalton Connect, but I don't know.
Yeah. Before we unveil the last region, they just revealed their first 4 out, and we'll talk about it. So the first 4 out for the committee is Oklahoma, Seton Hall, Indiana State, and Pitt.
And that's just absolutely awful. The fact that Virginia made this team and St. John's isn't even in the first 4 out. Rick Pitino coached his boys great. I mean, they gave UConn a hell of a game in their only losing by 5. I mean, I just think the fact that St. John's at least isn't in the first 4 out is an absolute joke by the committee. I think they 100% dropped the ball on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just happy Seton Hall's not in it. That's all I got to get off my chest. I mean, they would have been out. They would have been out round 1, but at least we didn't have to hear a little bit of it. And then going off of that, I don't even know, as you said, Jock. I mean, I'm not following the show as you guys are. I'm looking at stats on the side, but I don't know. I mean, Seton Hall kind of stinks. How are they How are they there? I mean, why is St. John's, who's 30th on KenPom, not there? I mean, they're a team that's very good, and they put together a nice run towards the end. I mean, ever since Rick Pitino said that thing about how his team doesn't run well, and then the media lost it because we're getting a little soft, it's just been go time for them. I'm a little upset that, we didn't ride the wave of how hot they've been going into March. They could have been a team to make a nice run. So it's unfortunate. I think they're just, doing it for the 3 seed teams that would have had to go against them.
And the other thing is, I just looking at the last 4 in now, I just think that they completely botched the Virginia-Colorado State game, because I think Indiana State should be in that spot over Colorado State. I mean, you look at I forget his name, the mini Jokic dude on Indiana State.
Yeah,
I mean,
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
I mean, Kareem, yeah.
But, I mean, again, that team, without all the jokes put aside, that was a very good offensive team. I mean, they barely lost out in their conference final, and they were just solid all year. They were a 30-win team, just missed out on the tournament. I think that the bracketology with that 10 seed play-in, I think they completely dropped the ball. That should be St. John's, Indiana State, in my opinion.
All right, let's get into the last region, which was the West region. North Carolina locked up that 1 seed despite losing the ACC championship. Arizona, who is headed by Caleb Love and is having an amazing season. Baylor, Will could talk about this Baylor team. He watched them a lot. Alabama got – I had Alabama as a 4 seed. That's my fault. St. Mary's won their conference, beating Gonzaga in the championship. A couple other teams. First thing that comes out, Michigan State. I think a lot of people had them as their first 4 in. It looks like the committee is kind of liking these Big Ten teams. Michigan State had a horrible start to the season, then started to turn up with Tyson Walker. Are you guys surprised with them not being a first 4 in and being a 9 seed?
No, not at all. I mean, you talk about one of the best coached teams. I mean, Tom Izzo is just so experienced. He's more wise than any of these coaches. But I mean, Tyson Walker is experienced. And again, they should have beaten Purdue in that Big Ten semifinal game, quarterfinal game it was. They should have beaten Purdue. They got unlucky with a couple calls. But I'm a big fan of this Michigan State team. I think that they are a very good team. They have the big man play. They have the dangerous backcourt duo. So I'm a big fan of this Michigan State team. And no, I'm honestly not surprised. I'm very content and very happy with where bracketology put Michigan State in this West region. I'm very happy about it.
I don't know, Jack. As an Indiana fan, I should know what's going on with Michigan State. But I really turned a blind eye to them the entire season after that start. It was really hard to even think of them as anything. I'm just kind of, a little bit shocked here. As you said, Jock, I really think they're looking at who's coaching that team. Tom Izzo is a guy who could get, this squad of 7-8 guys, together and put together a really good run. I mean, as you said, Jack, Tyson Walker is the guy who gets it done over there for Michigan State. He did last year. He was a man. I guess he probably still is this year since they're the number 9 seed. And they are a team that could push it and could make a run because of how well they're coached and the point guard that runs that team.
And I'll ask you guys, it looked like the committee heavily favored Big Ten in this selection, and they kind of threw aside the Big East. I mean, Seton Hall, a lot of people had in their brackets. St. John's, like Jock said, had a lot of people in their brackets. And you talk about Big East, they have UConn, they have Marquette, they have Creighton. How are they getting thrown aside by a conference like Big Ten? Willie can answer.
Yeah, I would love to. Because it's a bad conference. That's why, actually, because Xavier competes in it, and so does DePaul. It's just not a good conference. It's the Big Ten of last year. You go to their home court and you lose. If you're at home, you win. I do like the fact that UConn's there, but when UConn wins 30 games and loses 3, it's not impressive. We're looking at Seton Hall's resume was a good win, an incredible win against UConn at home. And then outside of that, it's like, oh yeah, we took down Creighton at home. We took down Xavier. Yeah, we roughed one out against Providence. It's like Providence isn't a good team. Providence lost their best player, and once they step away from their home court, they're a bad team. So I'm not really liking this. I don't like Creighton as a basketball team. I don't like how Marquette ended their season. I think UConn's the best team in the country, but that doesn't factor into anything because they just beat everybody. I just think that the Big Ten was a more evenly matched and more competitive bracket just throughout the year. I mean, Purdue's a team that actually puts up good fights. Yes, they beat everybody, so it's almost like let's not count them as well. But Illinois was a tough team. Northwestern made a lot of runs. I mean, there's a lot of games. Like Wisconsin's another team that's a very, very good team. Nebraska, they have a lot of, 8 and 9 seed potential teams that make it just those quad 1 wins. I really think that the Big East might have got caught up with a lot of their teams are quad 2, or they just kind of stink on paper.
I'm going to be honest. I think it's honestly very fair. I agree with Will. I think it's very fair that Big Ten is just better. I mean, I agree with him. I think it was just more competitive games. The only thing that I'm still very upset about, though, is St. John's should be in the bracket right now. Seton Hall, I didn't think deserved it from the beginning, but St. John's should 100% be in the bracket over some of these teams. I think that's an absolute joke. But Jack, I'm going to kick it to you first because I see a lot of upset noise in this bracket too. What upset are you looking at right away? Because I see at least 1 or 2 right away.
I'm looking at Alabama. I haven't been a fan of this Alabama team really all season.
Yeah.
And even St. Mary's, Grand Canyon has slowly, especially with analytics and KenPom, has slowly been a solid team as a mid-major.
Ned Ross, you. Let's go, Ned.
GCU. I mean, they'll be an interesting one to look at. They haven't lost a single game, but I don't think they've beaten anybody either. St. Mary's isn't as good of a basketball team as you think, though. They were they are almost like GCU a little bit too much. They won 16 straight games, and then you turn your head and look at it, and it's like, who? Like they didn't beat a single quad 1 team in that stretch. Sorry, go ahead. No, you're all good, but it's just tough. I don't look at St. Mary's as a team that's like, hey, this is a number 5 team, and they're solid. I think Wisconsin's a much better number 5 seed than St. Mary's.
I 100% agree, but that also just goes to show that St. Mary's team beat that Gonzaga team, which, again, I'm all over McNeese State in that game. But I think that Jack missed the big upset pick. It has to be the New Mexico Lobos against Clemson. I mean, just you want to talk about guard play, they have Jamal Mashburn Jr., Jalen House both showed up in their conference game. I mean, New Mexico looks really, really good right now, and they play at a very high clip. They shoot a very efficient clip from 3. I mean, I love this New Mexico State team at the moment.
PJ Hall, I'll throw out a name. PJ Hall and Clemson. That's the Janai Broomy of Clemson. I mean, that's the guy who's big and can play basically a role where he gets it all done. And I've loved what he's done for this Clemson squad. Don't really know anybody else because I haven't watched him too closely, but I know that they're a tough team, and I actually like their chances to make a further run than a couple other teams in the bracket. I think Clemson's a better team than Alabama. I love Baylor, and it's just tough. I want to see them put it together. It just seems like I don't know if they'll be able to. So I think they might even sometimes be a better team than Baylor. They could get a win there. So think Clemson might be a team that will make a sneaky run because of PJ Hall.
I just disagree. I think they're going home first round. I think the Lobos going to show out in a big way in that game.
All right, well, from UConn cutting the nets back in April, and then the tip-off in November, and we're finally here March 17th for what just happened. We just fully unveiled the bracket. We'll go through each region, and you guys will pick who you think comes out and wins the region. We'll start off back with the East region. Who is your pick, Jock?
I mean, man, this region really just baffles me, and you hate to take the chalk pick, but I don't think anyone's beaten UConn in this region. I mean, Iowa State, very good team. Illinois, I think, is a very good team, but UConn's just the clear-cut best team in the country. They have the experience. They have everything that you want in a March Madness team. It almost seems too perfect, but I can't see anything crazy happening with this UConn team. Give me UConn.
Will?
I'm going to steal it from you, Jack. I kind of feel bad because I know it's your pick, but I'm going to take Auburn. I really like them. I really do. I think they're a better version of Tennessee. I just think that they have more offensive pieces surrounding a guy like Janai Brumi. And I think that they have better guard play. And they might play a slight worse defense, but it doesn't really matter. I think they play the same defense. I think they play a much better offense. And, UConn, I just don't think they can repeat it. That's just it. There's nothing I could tell you that's going to say that UConn's a bad team. I think they're the best team in the country right now. We'll go off that they didn't play many great teams this year.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the chalk. I'm going to take UConn. It kind of just their regular season. We haven't had an undefeated season since 2015 Kentucky, but I think that regular season was the closest thing to it. Their margin of win in the Big East was 17 points per game, and the Big East was ranked second on KenPom. So I think they might lose when they get inside of the Final Four just because it's too good to be true for them to go back-to-back.
I agree.
But I like their path to get there, and I think I'm going to take UConn for that. Let's move on. Switch it here. I think what went Midwest was the second one, right? Or no, South. Sorry,
South. Yeah, South.
Yeah, I think South. Yeah.
One. So we had UConn for me, UConn for Jock, and then Auburn for Will. What is your pick for this one, Jock?
I mean, I don't know, man. This one is really, really tough because I just can't see Houston coming out. Give me Kentucky. There's something about this Kentucky team. I know they're young. I know they're inexperienced. But just they've stepped up in big games this year. They're going to make mistakes. I get that. But this Kentucky team on any given night can be the best team in the country. We've seen it. Have scored over 100 points in multiple games this year. The defense obviously is a scare factor. But this team can just play offense with anyone. Reed Shepherd lighting up the SEC. I mean, Rob Dillingham, he's pretty shifty. So I'll take Kentucky. I think that this is just such a toss-up, though. I'm going to take very, very tentative Kentucky and not very sold on my winning bracket at all.
Will?
This is weird. I actually like this team a lot more in the middle of the season, and then they did some stuff that they probably shouldn't have. But I'm back to them. I think they did enough to make me feel confident about what they can do. I'm going to take Wisconsin. I really like Chucky Hepburn. I really do. I think he's a point guard that could spread the ball out to guys like AJ Storr and other guys on that team that can be scorers. I think they have scorers at almost all 5 positions. I think they guard all positions well. I don't think they do anything at an elite level, but I think they could shut down teams like Marquette, who doesn't have Tyler Kolek maybe, or a team like Kentucky, who plays some of the worst defense in the top Division I conferences. I also think they're just a better team than six down. I think they could take on any of those teams. If not, it would be Duke, though.
Yeah, I'm a huge Duke fan, of course, but this team is just it's so hard to pick. Jared McCain, in my opinion, should be a top 10 pick in the NBA draft. The way he shoots the ball, where I think it's going in every time, how efficient he is, how he rebounds like a guard. I think he's a top 10 pick in the NBA draft. Outside of that, Kyle Filipowski has just been all in the media and not for the right reasons. Other players that Jeremy Roach is supposed to be the senior with all the experience hasn't played good. And I just don't like this Duke team right now. I think they're too soft to get there. This is the bracket, or this is the region where I see a team that could just keep upsetting their way through to get to the Final Four. A team like that would be Texas A&M for me. That's the most likely team, but I'm not going to see it happening. I'm going to take Marquette. I really like Shaka Smart. And if Tyler Kolek is back by the second round, give me
second round,
Iguodala, Tyler Kolek with a great coach. I'm going to take Marquette to win it.
Here's before we just switch it. Here's the one thing I want to call this shot right now because I think that what you said before was so wrong. I think Nebraska's going to beat A&M, and I think Nebraska versus Houston is going to be one of the best games that we're going to see all of March. I think that will be that will be my personal favorite game is if Nebraska plays Houston in the round of 32. That will be an awesome game.
I will be personally as pleased when Tominaga loses.
You say Tominaga?
I've seen enough. I've seen enough. He had a few good games. It's cool. He kicked Indiana twice. I probably can go on the court and do that. So, yeah. I mean, I hate Nebraska.
All right, we're going to move on to the Midwest region. We'll start off with Jock. What's your prediction for the team to get to the Final Four?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have to just stick with what I said before. I think I'm just it could be just my love for this team, but I just am so in love with Tennessee. I love Dalton Connect, and I just think that they're the best team in this bracket, period. I don't think Purdue is going to get it done this year, especially if they're playing Tennessee in the Elite Eight. And honestly, I don't see a lot of threats in this division apart from the top. Creighton, I think, as we mentioned, I think that they're going to go home pretty early. Kansas has had their fair share of struggles. And in the lower seeds, I don't see anything crazy. Maybe Texas makes some kind of magical run, led by Max Absmith, but I think I have to go with Tennessee here. Dalton Connect will lead the way for them throughout all of March.
If I wasn't so sold on Purdue, I think I'd go Kansas. But now that I think about it, if Kansas plays Purdue, does Purdue really beat Kansas?
No, I don't think so.
So
it's tough.
So I'm going to take Kansas.
Cover Edie.
I think Dickinson will hold his own against Edie. I think he's actually just overall one of the strongest players in all of college basketball. I remember watching him at Michigan and going against Trace Jackson Davis, and he was one of the guys that really shut him down just because he was so much stronger than him. And then as you said, like DeJuan Harris as a point guard is one of the better ball, or not a point guard, as a shooting guard, is one of the better assist players, even though he's not handling the ball. And then McCullough, it's just they have a lot of guys. I really, really, really do like this Kansas team. And we're talking about a well-coached team. Bill Self is one of the best coaches in all of college basketball. I really do like what Kansas can do. I'm going to take them.
Yeah, I love the pick out of Kansas. I think I agree. I think that matchup's going to happen in the Sweet 16. I think whoever wins that goes to the Final Four. But I really like the guard play out of Purdue. I think the Edie Dickinson matchup will be level-headed. And yes, you're right. Bill Self is a great coach, but I think Matt Painter is also a great coach. And I think the guard play will overtake for Purdue and finally get into the Final Four and have them win the Midwest region. Let's get into the last one. It was the West region. What's your pick, Jock?
I am really, really struggling with this region. This is the one where I have a lot of head scratchers because I'm not a huge fan of any of the top seeds. Caleb Love struggled in March that 1 year after their Cinderella run. That North Carolina team struggled. I'm not a fan of the North Carolina team now as the 1 seed. I don't think Arizona's cut out for it as the 2 seed. Man, I really, really. You know what? I'm honestly going to pass it over to Will. I really want a second to think about what I'm going to say before I make a fool out of myself in this region. So, Will, I'm going to let you pick first.
All right. Well, this is a tough one, obviously. Arizona's got the best big man in all this. And I'm really just verbalizing that just to show the Armando Bacot hate, make sure that everybody knows he's bad. I think I'm going to double that down just to rub it in a little bit more if any UNC fans are watching. I think Yves Misi is a better big man than Armando Bacot and his 5th year in college. But going off of that, I think Arizona's going to be my pick here. They just are a little bit more solidified and a little bit more March ready. The only thing that scares me is I really do love Scott Drew as a coach, and I think he's a guy that's going to turn on for March. Jack, as you said it, this is an awesome Baylor team. In March, a big thing is having guys that could shoot the three, and this is a team that's shot at I think behind Alabama at one of them and Indiana State at one of the most efficient marks in the entire country. Jacoby Walter's been an awesome freshman to watch. You have, Ray J. Dennis was a huge transfer. He was a guy that was, a big pickup as a point guard and just as a piece of that team. They have Jalen Bridges out in the corner that could just knock down threes. It's a really, really good, solid squad. They just lost way too many games. Like, it's a weird statement to make, but they've lost too many bad games. And they played in the Big 12, which is a conference that is going to bring upon a lot of losses, but I don't think their defense will be able to hold tight with other teams like Arizona. So that's why I'm going to take Arizona. I really think that Baylor is either a team that's out early or can make a nice long run because of how talented that guard. You want to talk about a team with talented guard play? I think that Baylor has throughout the entire team the best guard lineup in the entire country. Either that or one of the. I mean, they shoot the ball incredibly well, and Jacoby Walter's a special freshman. As I mentioned, they got guys coming off the bench who also can get it done. So I love the Scott Drew Rand team. I think Alabama sucks. Sorry for saying that, but I really do. They don't play defense. They actually, a little fun fact since I'm on the mic, Alabama since the second half of the season has allowed the same defensive efficiency as they have offensive efficiency. So that's really bad actually for a 4 seed. That's actually almost terrible. So I really am a big fan of Arizona here. I love Caleb Love in March. I mean, he's what made me so excited about all this going back 2 years ago when he made that insane run with UNC. So I love him. Unfortunately, he's not on UNC, though. He's on Arizona. I think he's going to take home that one.
Yeah, I'm taking Arizona as well. We're kind of on the same page here. Yeah, Caleb Love is great. He put a knife through my heart in 2021 when he hit that three against Duke. And their team is just so balanced. Like you said, the big man Omar Bale is great. And then, in my opinion, I think guard play always wins in March. And along with Caleb Love, they got Pele Larson. So I think this team is just most balanced on this region. And I don't really see a team stopping them at all here. I mean, they also have an easy route. They're going to be versing, if they win their first round matchup, they're going to be versing Dayton, Nevada. That's very easy. And then they'll probably, if Baylor makes it that far, maybe not. UNC is not, I don't like him as a 1 seed. So I think they have an easy path to get there. And that's why I'm taking Arizona.
Jack, you kind of hinted at my reason. So we all agree guard play dominates in March. And we always see one low seed make it all the way. I think it has to be in this region. And I'm going to go with New Mexico. I mean, this team, I can't rave enough. They have arguably the best backcourt in college, and most of the backcourt. They have three guards who average 15 a game or more. Jalen House Jr., Jalen House, Jamal Bashburn Jr., and Donovan Dent all average 15 points or more per game. They play at a very fast pace. They play great defense. They had a monster win in their conference tournament. And this team, I just believe, is the epitome of a Cinderella run team. I just can see them causing so much mayhem in this bracket. I know Will loves that Clemson team, but I honestly don't even think it'll be close. I just see a double-digit win written all over that game for New Mexico. And I really think that we always see that one low seed go all the way to that Final Four. I think that this year it's going to be New Mexico.
Wow. Oh, that's the highest seed picked.
Yeah.
For any of us today. That's it for the 4 regions. We're coming up on an hour here, so we'll end it off with our early predictions for who is going to win it. You guys said your Final Four, so who do you guys think is going to win it inside of your Final Four? We'll start with Will.
This was a little weird because my Final Four prediction of I'm blanking on it, but I knocked out Purdue, and Purdue was my prediction to win it all.
You're going with Kansas there. I'm
going with Kansas. I'm not going to go with Kansas to win it all. I'm going to have to flip my hips and take Arizona. Outside of the rest, I think Arizona's the best team. I think offensively and defensively, they're just, as Jack said, they got guys who are very efficient at a lot of positions, and they just are a very well-rounded team. You look at them, the Pac-12, people will not give any love whatsoever. They've completely written it off, but it was a very sneaky good conference this year. They had a lot of teams who put up some good seasons and made it a little bit difficult for Arizona to just sneak by. So I think they are a little bit more battle-tested than people believe. and I think they are a very good team.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop in next with mine. I mean, it is really tough because every sign wants me to pick UConn. I don't see who can beat them, and it's so tough because I think it's going to be UConn, Tennessee are the two teams that I think could win it, and you hate to go with the chalk pick, but I think I have to do it. I just can't see UConn losing. I'm sorry, I can't see them losing a basketball game, especially at the highest stakes. They're just too experienced. They do everything right. It feels like it's too perfect, and it's bound for an upset. But I just can't see them losing in March. I'm going to stick with UConn. I think Tennessee's right there, though. I think Dalton Connect is that good of a player. I think he should be looked at as one of the best players in college basketball all season. I think he'll get him right there, but I just think UConn's too good. I can't see him losing a game.
Yeah, I said before, Will, we're on the same page. You stole my pick again. I just talked about Arizona, how much I love them. And Will's right. Offensive, defensively, they're so consistent. And preseason, I wasn't very high on this team. I wasn't a big Caleb Love fan. I thought he was just only great in March. I didn't think they would have a great regular season. And then they won in Cameron Indoor Stadium, and they won pretty convincingly. And then they started to pick up a lot more great wins. And they lost early in the Pac-12 conference tournament. But I don't really care. I think this Arizona team is here to win behind Caleb Love, who has that experience. And yeah, that's why I'm taking the Wildcats. So me and Will have our early predictions for Arizona and Jock with UConn.
Yeah, I will say real quick because I like Arizona as well. I think they're a very good team. I think they're going to win a couple games. I just think it all comes to an end when they face New Mexico and those Lobos, man. That team just does it for me. I really think that they are a legit Cinderella team this year.
Hey, New Mexico. I mean, if anybody's watching, and the one thing you have it, maybe you pick New Mexico in your bracket, but that'll do it for our live Selection Sunday show. We'll be back with you right before the Sweet 16 to go over the bracket when it gets to there. But for the round of 64 and the round of 32, hope you guys enjoy. So for Giacomo Piali, Will Krakowski, me, Jack Kemmler, this is March.